God, I'll be glad when I don't have to do this any fucking more.
The president made it very clear, you kill an American, you respond and you're safe for it. I think all of Congress should speak with one voice.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in the aftermath of the drone strike, the House would vote on a war powers resolution. Pelosi saying it would reassert Congress's long-established oversight responsibilities by mandating that if no further congressional action is taken, the administration's military hostilities with regard to Iran cease within 30 days. That appears to be on hold for now.
It is an ongoing discussion as to the appropriate timing. We hope to move forward with something sooner rather than later, but there is no time frame as I understand it in terms of it absolutely taking place over the next day or two.
It is worth noting there was immediate outreach to Speaker Nancy Pelosi by Vice President Mike Pence last night during the missile strike. There was some frustration by leading congressional members that there was not outreach ahead of the drone strike. Harris?
Mike Emanuel, thank you very much. Set us up perfectly to segue into something we were talking about there during the commercial. And so let's bring it forth if you can. You are looking for specific information today, maybe just a little bit that would come out about whether or not there really was an imminent threat.
Well, because that makes a big difference, right, in how this conversation is had in the country, because it's been immediately dismissed. I mean, one political leader, especially on the Democratic side, after another, leapt forward to say, to dismiss that entirely. And I think American people would really like to know if there was specific intelligence, because isn't it ironic how whenever a big attack happens, the first thing we do is say, why didn't they stop it, right? And point fingers. And in the media, we're brilliant at that. Why didn't you stop 9/11? Why didn't you stop, this attack? Why didn't you do something about it? So if this is a case where the intelligence was such that they did prevent an imminent attack, then surely what you should be saying is, well, good job for stopping that, right? Finally, our intelligence, our systems worked.
So, KT, what's so interesting about that, that's so separate, Lara, than the conversation about the War Powers Act and do you need imminence to be there, so on and so forth. It's a basic understanding of keeping us protected. So what does the American public really need to be told? Do they need to be declassifying? I mean, you've worked on this end of things, and you've got a whole family who serve. So how deep do we need to know?
I think that, look, when President Trump did his first military action, which was bombing the airfields that the Syrians used to put a chemical weapons attack on the women and children, I was part of that, part of the planning of that in the Situation Room with the president. And we weren't sure quite who to inform because it was sort of new to us. We informed everybody, but we waited until the missiles were in the air because you really worry about operational security and if anything were to go wrong. So I think that Trump did the right thing. They informed the right person at the right time. And as far as the American people, I think we're past that now. It seems like 100 years ago almost, but we're now to the point where the Iranians have retaliated. They've responded, and there wasn't much there. So the justification for what did we do, why did we do it, I think that we're past that.
Guy, what are the politics at play during these briefings? Because you've heard some people, you heard the ranking member, the top GOP on the House Foreign Affairs, Mike McCall, told me on the program a couple days ago that he was in fact briefed and knew some details. And then you've heard, as Laura pointed out, Democrats saying, there wasn't anything to know because there wasn't imminent threat.
Right, the briefings are happening. I think that's appropriate. It is perhaps a bit ironic to see the parties switching their stances on the reliability of the intelligence community because they had different positions back in the Bush years, and then the last couple of years the right has been saying much of it. Oh, it's the deep state, they can't be trusted, they're against Trump. Now the White House is saying we must trust our intelligence community. It's so sad that the Democrats aren't doing that, and the Democrats have been saying, oh, these are sacrosanct American heroes, and we shouldn't criticize them. Now we're questioning.
I do just have to say one thing, though. That's sort of a false narrative, too, right? Because that's the argument. The reality is we have found out, there is evidence that the law enforcement elements within the intelligence agencies, they were doing things they weren't supposed to be doing. It's fair to say that we can't trust that. There were dissenting voices like Mike Rogers at the NSA on the whole Russian interference in the election.
I think some of the broad brush characterizations of the intelligence community as a whole have been unfair on both sides, and now the parties, for their political reasons, seem to be switching.
But there's one more thing, though, if I may, that is certainly true and hasn't changed. It is healthy to be arguing about the War Powers Act. This is not new. It has happened since the dawn of time. Who has the power within our government?
1979.
There you go. For our government to argue over who has the power to take us into war, and it's important that we argue that and go back and forth, but it's not new to this administration.
No, but one thing I would say, though, that is very, very different. Under the last administration, President Obama assassinated 2 American citizens who were considered terrorists. That is a completely different level of authority, where there is actually a legal process, other actions you're supposed to take legally before assassination. And there was silence. There was silence. Nobody said a word about it. Here you have someone who is potentially involved in an imminent attack, a terrorist attack, who has killed over 600 Americans, who is responsible for killing people all across the region. And you're having an argument about whether the law was broken. What law was broken? What law was broken? What is the name of that law? What does that law say? And where are the journalists pushing back on the people who are saying the president broke the law? Definitive statement. They're not leaving any room for doubt. They're not, I mean, how, if it's not true, are you as a congressional elected official, are you lying? I mean, is that true or is it not true? It's
Well, I found a journalist who's asking you. We need to get them here on the couch so we can depose them. All right, the travel and energy industries keeping a very close eye.
All right, so the world's a better place because of Laura Logan. There you go.